South Africa take on Ireland in the third and final ODI. Only a draw is possible right now, or a win for Ireland. So everything to play for Ireland. And I don't know what there is to play for South Africa besides points to get them up that Super League table. And that's about should be enough for them to want to motivate them to have to win. That performance in the second ODI should the poor performance in the second ODI should be enough to motivate them to perform, at least for us as the supporters. I would like to see an excellent performance from South Africa, clinical. I want to see a performance where they look more enthusiastic about it. We had a comment on our review of the second ODI where one of the fans that was at the stadium said that South Africa looked lackluster on the boundary, looked like some guys weren't interested. They were having chats with their friends after drop catches happened, and like they didn't look like they were upset about it and things like that. But I mean, I don't know if that's true. That was just based on a comment, and you can't always trust comments on YouTube, of course, but not all the time. But to me, it's easy to believe because from the performance itself and the way people looked on that field, it didn't look like they were 100% in. So I want to see a massive turnaround in the third and final ODI. I want to see South Africa take the field, and I want to see them play with effort. And if they still lose, then by all means, I can put up my hands and say, okay, cool, you guys at least made an effort. I don't want to see a performance like the last ODI. Definitely not. So today we're going to be previewing the third and final ODI between South Africa and Ireland. And we're going to be discussing who we'd like to see come into the team. We're going to be discussing what sort of approach South Africa needs to take when it comes to this particular game. And we're just going to have a chat amongst each other and just find out what type of style do you want? Where do you want the South Africa to focus from a batting performance and a batting perspective and a bowling perspective as well? If you're new to this channel and it's the first time that you're here, please hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell for all future videos. Also, don't forget to smash that like button. I asked for 50 likes on our review show and we got 50 likes on the review show. So today I want to ask for minimum 30 plus. Let's get there. Depends how many people obviously tune in. But if you're watching this later, let's try to beat the 50. Let's try to beat that 50 likes that we got on the review show. Yeah, so this is the conversation where we're going to start talking about everything that has to do with South Africa and Ireland. So let's get straight into it. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show / daily show. I'm your host Khalid. This is my co-host Aditya. This is Seppo at the bottom of the screen over here, and we're here to bring you the preview of the third ODI between South Africa and Ireland. So something to look forward to. Maybe for some of us, maybe for others, we just wanted to end after that pathetic performance in the in the second ODI. We've got Paul for you as well. He's back again. Welcome to the show, brother. We're going to be discussing everything that has to do with the third ODI. So I think let's get straight into it. Let's start talking about it. I would first like to go around the screen. I always say around the table. It kind of feels like you guys are sitting opposite the table with me. One of these days we'll have a studio, and then that will be happening. But one of these days, if you guys help us and you obviously subscribe to our Patreon, maybe we can make it happen a lot quicker. Yeah, Aditya, let's start with you. What sort of performance would you like to see from South Africa? Everywhere we have to improve, obviously.
Well, definitely better than the one that we saw in the second game, and that's all three disciplines. You know, we obviously need to see a significantly better fielding performance than we did the other day, and I feel like South Africa will put up a better performance because this loss will have shaken them, and it's going to hurt. With the bowling again, I think Charles Langewell's press conference indicated that there might be a few changes ahead of this game. And personally, I'd like to see Lazar Williams in there because death bowling was obviously an issue. Last 10 overs, 100 runs. Last 5 overs, 65 runs. So that's obviously a concern, and you might as well bring in your best death bowler, give him exposure. And obviously, from a batting perspective, I'd like to see big scores from Aiden Markram, Themba, and I'd like to see better rotation of strike. That seems to be my standard line these days, I guess, because I don't see enough of it with South Africa. But yeah.
Yeah. Seppo, is it time to bring Quinton back? Or
Oh,
do you still want to give
100%.
him or do you
No,
want to
no,
see
no, no,
Aiden
no.
get another opportunity?
100%. 100. Quinton de Kock is back in the side. I mean, if we don't put him in the side, if I were an Ireland supporter, I'd be like disrespected. I'd be like, so you don't take us seriously like this. I mean, you're not even bringing your best guy. I wouldn't say it was silliness to leave him out, but yeah, I think he wasn't the right person to leave out. If you're going to rest someone, I would have said David Miller. Maybe I'm getting too into the conversations too early, but yeah, it's time to see Quinton de Kock on the side. There's no doubt about it. But his opening partner, that's going to be up for discussion. I'm sure tonight.
And Paul, where do you stand with the lineup? I mean, we know that you always have a catch for us somewhere in that lineup in the positions.
The lineup, look, I think tomorrow I look, as much as I can say, I know what Mark Boucher is going to do. So yeah, like if Lazard Williams plays, it means that they finally decided to give KG a rest, which is fine. I want to see that. But think about what Mark Boucher's legacy will be if he loses 2-0 to Ireland. So I think he's going to try to go for an 11 that's very strong. And if it means bringing Quinny back early from his rest, that could be it. I don't think Aiden's going to get dropped out the side. I think he'll be shuffled down the order somewhere. But yeah, look, tomorrow, as Aditya said, 3 all disciplines, they must do well. But for me, show me how you can consistently score 300 with the talent that's there. What's the plan? 15 overs, 30 overs, 35. What is it that you're looking to do? Because what I saw on Tuesday is something that I don't want to see again. But I've seen it for the last 2 years. So I think these guys really need to find a way to buckle down. You can't have over 100 dot balls and think that's okay too.
It's 100% true. Now, obviously, we know there's obviously points up for grabs. Aditya, you just want to explain this table. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. So currently, South Africa are sitting 11th.
Yes, below the Netherlands too. And well, as we know, victory gets you 10 points, and a loss gets you no points, and a no result will get you, I think, 5 points. So South Africa obviously needs to do a lot better and start racking up some of those points, because we're talking about teams like India and New Zealand that will rack up a lot of points, and certainly in home games. So South Africa really needs to buckle up, and I think that series loss to Pakistan cost them, but they can't afford another loss to Ireland here. Certainly not.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, at least if we won the second game, we'd be closer to India, and probably after that particular game, we could have overtaken India in the particular arena. But unfortunately, it is what it is. South Africa just needs to rack up wins, etc. I don't know if any of you guys are listening to that SJN meetings from CSA, and a lot of guys coming out talking about what things were like back then. Roger Telemarcus today was questioning the appointment of Mark Boucher. He was respectful in the way, and he's saying he doesn't blame Mark Boucher for this, but he blames CSA for the way he was appointed. He specifically stated, and this is his words, not mine, that he doesn't think that Mark Boucher had the coaching qualifications that was necessary. He also was a person that was elected as he got a contract that was the biggest contract that he's ever seen a coach get in South African cricket, which is 4 years. I think he said the highest that he's ever seen is 3 years. He also said that he himself has a level 4 coaching qualification, which is the highest that you possibly can get. Yet he doesn't feel that he's ready to take over the Proteas, even though he's a winner with KZN England when he was still a coach over there. So, I mean, there was a lot. I think this SJN meetings are going to really expose South Africa. It really will open up everything that is happened in South African cricket over the years. There are going to be questions over Mark Boucher, and I think any coach, when you lose, there's always going to be questions. And funnily enough, fans always go after selection. It's the first thing. It's the easiest thing to criticize is selection. That's the first and foremost what everybody does. Look here, there's a lot of stuff happening in South Africa with the looting and the rioting and things like that that's happening in South Africa. Ashit actually asked the question. Don't worry, Ashit, I did see it earlier on before the stream started. I don't know why, if you guys comment before the stream starts, why it doesn't pop up on my stream when we are live. I don't know why YouTube just makes it disappear. I don't know how long the chat stays there for me to be able to see it, but I went on it to share the stream. So I obviously saw your comments over there. So thank you for commenting so early. It was about 2 hours ago already that he was busy on the live chat. He asked about David Miller and whether that, whatever's happening in his hometown, has affected him. Tsepo, do you wanna comment on this specifically? And Paul and Aditya, if you guys want to. I know Aditya maybe doesn't have a stance because he's not here, so you guys will have obviously a better understanding. We will actually have a better understanding. It doesn't hit South Africa yet. It's hit obviously Soweto badly, and it's hit KZN. I mean, recently a mall close by to us has closed. Has barricaded, or the malls are barricading and putting security around there. So in Cape Town, so it hasn't hit us yet. I hope it doesn't.
On Sunday and Monday in my area, people were just going up and down with goods, looting up and down. So, So, but it's I don't want to downplay it, but I do think there's just a lot of events that have happened in South Africa that have made that, and that could be the reason why they were down. But as a coach, I'm sure Tsepo's even watching the NBA finals, but for me, coaches have always found a way to insulate the team from the events that are happening. So I don't want to say that it's a factor. It is, because obviously everyone's got phones and stuff like that. But for me, it's up to Mark Boucher, it's up to Timber to try and get the players' minds off. That's the mark of a good coach. The mark of a good coach will say, forget what's going on. Yes, maybe that, and that's what we saw with the rugby team. Ricey was like, South Africa's in whatever problems it's in. You have, at this point in time in Japan, have no way of helping it. The only thing you can do is try to bring joy to the people back home. And so for me, that would have been even extra motivation to say, okay, fine, let's do this. We're entertainers. That's what they are. They're sportsmen who play sport. But for us, they entertain us. And so I think that for me is something that I would have wanted them to try and do, to try and express and to say that, no, yes, everything's going bad in our country, but we can do something about it by bringing joy to those who have lost, joy to everything else. And I think, like even last night with the rugby team just played incredibly well. And it gave us those 2 hours of solace. So to say that something's affecting, yes, possibly it could have. But even then you check the room. So sometimes the coach will ask, I know things are going bad at home and maybe guys' houses or whatever businesses are in danger. You ask, are guys willing? Are guys able to play? Are guys in the right headspace? So I'm assuming when they got onto the field, they were fine because of the fact that they did those mental checks. Because I would like a coaching staff, and a coaching staff worth its salt, even at a level 4, whatever it is, should be able to understand the players' mental states. And if you're not good, and if you're not in that right mental state, you sit out and you bring somebody else. And so I don't think that was something that it could have, but I don't think it was something, and I don't think we should lean on it, because whenever something bad happens in South Africa and the sports team does badly, we can't go there.
Yeah.
You know, you're a coach, you get paid to get these guys out of their headspace. If it's there, then they'll have to front up in the press conference, but I don't think it was that.
And look at the rugby team. Sorry, Tsepo. in the World Cup, there was a lot of things happening over here, protests happening after some serious issues in South Africa at the particular time, and they actually played for it. You saw Mapimpi go to the cameras and showing that to the cameras, and that emotion to the cameras. Obviously,
yes,
after that,
Nene's name on
for
his
Nene,
wrist.
yeah,
Yes,
for his wrist and stuff. And there was a lot of other things also happening. There was accusations of racism within the team that was happening all on social media. They used it to inspire them as a team together to promote their performances and elevate them. The cricket team should do something similar. They should use this as an example of some sort of hope for the South African public, to show that there's a team that wants to play for the pride of this nation, and they are ready to represent the country and give us some sort of happiness in this harder times. Sorry for cutting you off, Tsepo. You can continue.
No. And I mean, I agree with you guys. Now that I think of it, I mean, the way the day evolved was pretty emotional, and that's why I sort of felt that at the time, even tweeted about that. But the more we speak about it, and the more you speak about qualifications, as Umpo said, if the coach is worth their salt, they should be able to insulate the team, and that just goes back to what you said about Roger Telemarcus. Maybe Mark Boucher was thrown in too early, because I mean, like, at first instinct, you'd think, okay, give them time to sort of get used to these situations and managing that. But I mean, if you want a quality coach of a national team, they need to be able to speak to the gents and get through to them. And there has been, I wouldn't say a history of miscommunication, but there was something mentioned about language when Dean Algar was talking about boring cricket, and that's the language that broke through to the team, and you could see it in the West Indies. And the more you think about it, Mark Boucher has been complaining about, or not complaining necessarily, but mentioning that he's been struggling to get through to the players, talking about egos and all that. So maybe he's not like, well, he's obviously proving not to be not able to manage like superstar personality. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult not to take away question marks from his qualifications now that you mention it.
Yeah, I mean, Roger also questioned. He said Enoch at the time when he was interim coach. I mean, Enoch has a level 3 coaching certificate. Enoch has one trophy. Level 4, sorry, level 4. He has a level 4 coaching certificate. He's coached overseas. He's played overseas. He's won trophies. The first Mzansi Super League under that amount of pressure. Just remember that. You need to give some props for that as well, because Mark Boucher was also in that tournament with a better 11, possibly, you could say, with AB de Villiers and all these stars that they were saying. The Spartans was like the number 1 team at the time from that perspective. People were looking at them as the team to win it. They were the favorites. He fell short. Enoch won it in his first season, the first inaugural tournament. I'll never forget that day. And the passion, the communication on that field. He wanted. I was at Newlands. I was at Newlands the day. Enoch gave me his cap after the game, so I had a fat chat with him. I mean, I was a big fan of the way he approached it. His press conferences, the confidence within that group, the way he communicated the style of cricket that they wanted to play, all of that came to fruition on that day at Newlands. And it was an excellent win from him, his part, and he won it away from home in difficult conditions as well, because Newlands was struggling to create a wicket that was lively necessarily for both teams and easy to bat on and all of those type of things, especially with everything happening at Newlands at the time. So, yeah, I mean, he questioned that as well, saying, but you had a coach that had all the right qualifications. You had a coach that won trophies. The only difference is the national. He didn't play national cricket for as many caps as we would have hoped. And
no, he didn't play at all. He did not play.
Did he not play one game? I thought he played one game.
I don't think Enoch played a game. That's the thing about it. But at the time, even at the time, everybody wanted to bring South Africa back, to get South Africa back to those glory days. Let's go for Graham and Mark. Let's go for the tried and tested. And I'm okay with picking Mark, but just like the other last week when the former head of transformation was speaking, you can take whatever she says with a pinch of salt. But one of the things she mentioned was there was no process around Mark. You need a process. In South Africa, in any job, application, you need to have a process to go through whatever candidates you get in the world. In the universe of sport, we've known throughout history there are guys who haven't played international cricket or international sport, but are incredible coaches across all the different coaching levels. And so for me, that's something that this is going to bring up, and I'm glad Roger Telemarcus brought it up today, because it was brought up last week, and because of the person speaking, people didn't take it seriously. But to a certain extent, yes, that's what it is. But we've got Mark now, and the big issue for me is what Tepo said with the whole Dean wanting to play brave cricket, because Dean came in at a time where, on the back end of Graham's tenure, where they were playing not brave, boring cricket, where they were playing boring test cricket. And that's how Graham and this South African test team became number one in the world. They literally played you into the ground. They used time as a weapon. And Mark in the press conference, and Aditya, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm just going to throw it to you. Mark in the press conference then said he doesn't agree with the term boring cricket, which kind of made us all like, what? But Dean last week said we want to play boring cricket.
Well, there are two different messages coming from the captain and the coach.
But then the question is, it feels to me it's like throughout Mark's tenure, and I'm not saying that he's a bad coach or whatever it is. Throughout Mark's tenure, what we've received as the media is nice hit words, nice little phrases, catchphrases. I want to play aggressive cricket. I want to play brave cricket. I want to play like England. And it feels like it's a strategy. But as everybody knows, the strategy's there, but we need a plan. How do we do this? How do we bring it out? And I think that's where I think this team might be stuck in, is that it's aggression, but how do we actually take this out as a team? Do we all go aggressive? Do some not? How do we do it from like an X and O's perspective? And I think that's where the role clarity, as you guys are talking about, and everything else over the past couple of weeks comes through. The X's and O's are important. And looking at the last match, the X's and O's weren't there.
Yeah. No, you know what? I would have liked to just at least see a progression, man. Like, I don't want to see us take 2 steps forward and 100 steps back again. Or like we keep on doing that. We think we've moved on from it and moved forward. I mean, Aditya, we've spoken about it. I would like you to get your thoughts on this, because South Africa moves forward. Like we played, even though against Pakistan we lost, right? I still saw some positives to take out of it. I felt like there was certain things we need to improve, and yes, there was, and I could see that there was some momentum going forward, especially when we brought out against Australia as well. When they came here, we looked. I was so happy about the fresh team that they played, and that there was a massive step forward in the way we looked on the field as a unit. But then we go to the West Indies. We beat the West Indies in T20s and in tests. And I'm thinking, okay, great. This confidence is in the team right now. You can only improve from here. But then we play against Ireland, and then we look like a team that's back again when we were struggling again before against England. I mean, there were certain mistakes that were still made.
Yes, it is a case of, going 1 step forward and 2 steps back, because what we've seen, particularly in this ODI against Ireland, is that the basics were just missing. I think all of us here can accept if another team outplays South Africa. When Pakistan came to South Africa and played well, especially in that game when Babar Azam and Rizwan beat South Africa by 10 wickets in that game. I think all of us basically said that Pakistan were brilliant. No one's, and South Africa were beaten by the better team. So to meet the challenges is getting South Africa to do their best, to get their basics right, and then the result is never in your hands. So the result may come your way if you do the basics right consistently, but that's not been happening. And I agree with them both that there's a strategy, but there doesn't seem to be a plan. because in that chase of 290, there wasn't a plan. If you're set batsman, Yanaman Malan was brilliant. He made 84, but he made 84 of 96 balls. Is that the figure that a set batsman, an opening batsman, should be producing? I'm not so sure, because your next batsman has made 49 or 70. So who is the aggressor? Who is the enforcer? That role is simply not clear to any of us. And another thing and this is a question I have for all of you, is that 5, 6, and 7 have been a challenge for South Africa. But assuming David Miller is not there, who are his replacements?
That is a good question. Now, I want to just move over, because that's something that we've done videos
If
on
David
that.
Miller is there, who are his replacements at the moment? Low key, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to decide how we're going to approach this, because myself and Aditya did a show where we were talking about finishers in South Africa, and we didn't know who could be the next in line. Anybody that we're going to put in now has no experience. So how do you know whether they are good enough or not until you see them play international cricket?
I have a name from left field. If somehow we're dropping Miller tomorrow. And I know you guys are going to kill me for this, but Heinrich Klaassen.
That's not from left field.
Yeah. No, but like nobody wanted him in the West Indies. Like everyone was like, "What is this guy doing on the field?" But for me, but for me in ODIs, that Australia series in 2019, was it 2019 or 2020? I don't know. Where Carl Verena just had a blinder of a series. I think they averaged about 50 and 20 in 2019 in those two series, 2020 years. And I think he could be a guy for you to just put in there, because what do we need from a guy at 5 and 6? We don't need that typical 2020, you've got 10 balls, but I need an accelerator with a high strike rate. And he's done that quite well. I think he also did that against England in a pink ODI when he's in his debut series. So I think he's probably a guy we could try with Carl Verena at 5 and 6, and then depending on the situation of the game, you kind of rotate the two or as to who you want in. But for me, I think he's the guy. But then the problem is number 7, and Andile's not a 7. I'm sorry, he's not a 7.
Yeah, he's not. I always said 8.
Yeah, he's an 8.
For me, he's a bowling all-rounder for me. He's not a batting all-rounder.
He's a bowler. You pick him as a bowler.
But then, obviously, Dwayne Pretorius, he has a pretty decent record, but that's mainly in T20s. But you'd expect him to come in. But Vian Mulder, I guess, if we have to answer the question of 7 and we need someone to try, why not Vian Mulder? He's the all-rounder in the test. He has the quality. The Lions have been trying to put him up the batting order to sort of improve his batting. And something that was mentioned earlier in the Full Quota podcast is that the franchise that Andile is in at the moment isn't backing him in that position to sort of increase his batting. So it's he's used as a bowling all round, and now that's his skill, and he wasn't utilized properly, and now we need a space for 7. And also George Linder. What about George Linder in one day internationals?
I'd take him tomorrow. I wouldn't mind if he batted at 7 tomorrow and go with 3 spinners.
Yeah, I think George is also a type of guy that when he takes his time and gets his eye in, he can be very lethal. He's performed very well in first class cricket. Yes, he does have the ability to smack the ball. I have seen him do it in T20 cricket, but we have a lot of guys in our 11 in our squad that need time to settle in at the crease. There's not a lot of guys that can come out and smack immediately.
But there's one thing I want to say about that, and again, it's a question for you all, is that how much work is being done to train players for 5, 6, and 7? And Khalid and I have talked about this on previous shows. The one example that comes to mind from the Indian team is Ravindra Jadeja. Even 5 years ago, Ravindra Jadeja was nowhere near the batsman that he is today. And that's because over a period of time, the Indian team management and the Chennai team management have done a lot of work in sort of upskilling him, in ensuring that he has more shots in his repertoire, or that he's able to swing from ball one, bat at a higher strike rate. So over time, that investment has yielded returns. But my question is that is there similar work being done with 5, 6, and 7 in South Africa, and what kind? Because to me, as of now, I see Keshav Maharaj as a bowler who can bat a bit. Andile is in that category as well, and he's been around the side for 4 or 5 years, but we're still waiting for results with the bat from Andile. And you guys mentioned George Linden there as well.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, Chippo.
Yeah, maybe not for bats position number 7, but I did hear that only recently they've been working on KG's batting, and what's interesting is that it's only recent that we've had discussions about I guess KG's been disappointed with his batting, and we've seen this man's quality, like his drives have always looked good, and it's weird that no one has sort of built on that until very recently. So yeah, I hope Mark Boucher's watching and getting people, not just Mark Boucher, everyone. Yeah, all the coaches, guys, watch the show, subscribe.
Just to close it off on two lines, Neil Mackenzie's the batting coach, like the batting lead for Cricket South Africa, and he travels around the country speaking to various batsmen who are in and around the setup. I think the problem is that, like the whole thing of strategies and stakeholders, I don't know if I assume it should happen. All the coaches Mark should visit all the coaches with Neil Mackenzie and try to do the work to try and say, because I think we spoke about this a year ago. We need, like, if you want Andile to be a batsman at number 7 in international cricket, he needs to bat at 6 and higher. If you need Vian Mulder to be batting at number 6 in the Proteas team, he needs to be batting in the top 5 for his franchise team. And you need to kind of get the buy-in from the franchise coaches to be able to play those guys in those positions when they are available, because it doesn't make sense for guys for that to be a disconnect in national team. Andile bats higher in the Proteas team than he does for the Dolphins. That makes no sense. And to a certain extent, Vian Mulder can't bat anywhere higher than 7 in domestic franchise team, because you've got Dwayne, you've got Delano, you've got Nicky van der Berg, and everybody else. So that's a question we need to ask Graham, and we hope that it is happening. But that's the work that needs to happen with a batting consultant, with your batting lead, even at home during the winter months, to get guys to be better at the areas in the team where you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm. So we have to get our island perspective over here, because this is a preview for the game. Let's get him in here. He's been celebrating in the back. I don't know for what though.
just being on, boys. That's all. Just excited for tonight's show. I've actually been tuning in for about the last 15 minutes. Just one thing about David Miller, who's come under quite a bit of scrutiny tonight. 61.85 average since 2019. Just going to put that out there with a 102 strike rates. So are we all in? Just yeah.
No,
he
nobody
did
said,
pretty well
no,
before. Yeah.
No, but we're not complaining about the fact that he doesn't deserve to be the 6. We've all said that, but you need to come to the party as well. He's been in terrible form in the last 10 games.
We're just saying rest him like you're resting all your 18 players in some sort of an isolation.
Yep.
The bubbles burst.
He just needs some time to, yeah. And I don't think Miller's the type of player that you play into form, like similarly to Quinton, right? They are the type of X factor. They're the X factor type of players that they perform when it happens. You don't know when it's going to happen. That's the thing. They take you by surprise out of nowhere. I don't think they're the type of players that you can play into form. Where someone like Rassi, you can play him into form, because he's this type of struggler that goes through and fights through that difficult times and then comes out on top. Similarly, I think Aiden Markham does that too. He's a type of player as well. When he has a run of form, he gets himself back into form. I've seen it with the Titans on many occasions. He's done that. I mean, even at the point where he wasn't even getting picked for the under-19 side back then, he just played and got himself into the contention with Ray Jennings. Obviously, Ray saw something in him and some talent in him, and that's why they picked him. And then he played himself into form into that World Cup, and he continued that form. Once Aiden's on a roll, it's difficult to stop. Now, there is obviously something blocking you. You can see him in T20s. Since he started scoring 50s, he basically hasn't stopped. Like he just continues to score runs. Now in ODIs, he needs to get over that hurdle. It's a blockage there somewhere that he needs to get over. And once he gets over that, I think he unlocks the door. And I hope that he does it closer to the World Cup so he can come into the World Cup on form. Because if he does that, it's very difficult to stop him. Whereas Muller, I think he just needs this. I think also similarly, I think he needs some time, just to get himself into the right mentality, etc. But this is also about Ireland. So,
Indeed.
Aaron, I want to know your thoughts on Ireland. How do they win this game? Do they just keep the same mindset as they did before?
Well, I suppose so, yeah. And in particular for Ireland, you've got to look at the fielding. It is one place which Ireland really do excel at in the game of cricket. They were absolutely exceptional in that. Well, it was the second ODI, wasn't it? But we'll say it's the first because the first one was rained off. But in that second ODI, brilliant, absolutely brilliant in the field. So they have to keep that energy, that enthusiasm, that positivity. That is one massive thing that Ireland can do. In terms of the personnel, I don't really think anything's going to change. I'm going to be honest, unless Porterfield is back, but I don't think that he is for this series. So unless Porterfield comes back into that side, I think they'll remain unchanged. And in particular, one thing that Ireland really need to rely on in this last ODI is the spin. They were absolutely outstanding in that second ODI. The likes of Simi Singh, for example, Andy McBride. We didn't really get to see a lot of George Dockrell, but again, someone else who can come in and change the whole perspective of a game. So for Ireland, again, you have to say business as usual. Go in there with that same mentality, that same mindset. The only issue is that can they produce that same performance for 2 games in a row against the South Africa side, which, let's face it, are really going to be up for this now with Quinton de Kock back in the foray. So it's definitely going to be a lot harder for Ireland. But with that being said, nothing's impossible. Before this series, we spoke on previous shows saying that it's possible for anything can happen. Who knows? Ireland 2-0. I know obviously none of us here would want that. I completely understand that, but who knows? Could happen. Anything can happen. It's a beautiful game.
You know what? I'm just looking at David Miller's stats, right? And okay, if I take ODIs alone, like obviously when you combine it to T20s, etc., and you look over a period of time, it might skew the results. But recently, he's probably had one of his best runs of forms that he's had. Since I'm talking about like with consecutive high scores or half centuries or milestones. I mean, since England, I mean, he scored 69 against England, then he scored 64 against Australia, then a 37 not out, then a 50 against Pakistan, and then a 50 not out against Pakistan. Okay, then now he hasn't performed. And before that, he struggled for quite some time. I think from then, he didn't score 50 until that 139 in 2018 in November. He didn't score 50. He had a 41 not out against Sri Lanka in 2019, but he went on a long run of games without any top score until that 139. Then he went on, before that, he had a 51 and he had another 51 in a couple of games time, but then he went a long run of form, like 8 games without scoring in 2017. I'm crossing over years here, so it's going to be difficult to just look at it from that perspective to make an opinion like that. But David Miller has never been, for me personally, a type of guy that I'm like, every game he's going to score 50. He's never been that guy for me because of where he bats as well, because of the situations that he's coming in, maybe as well. Maybe that might be the reason. But it's not like a Quinton where I expect Quinton to score 50 every game he walks onto the field. That's my expectation of Quinton.
Can I jump in here for a bit? I think over the past couple of years, South Africa have been very reliant on its top order to score a majority of its runs. And David Miller's been coming in, and I'm talking about ODI cricket, not T20. So let's divorce ourselves from West Indies and let's talk about ODI cricket. And David Miller's always had like 10 overs because those were the plans. David Miller comes in. What disappointed me about Tuesday was when David Miller walked in like the 35th over. I had flashbacks of that Australia innings where he came in earlier. We came about 10 overs earlier with Faf, and they had like a 200-run partnership.
Ooh,
I
And
remember that
and
one.
and he
2018.
gave David time, and David
Beautiful.
just came through for you. And for me, the thing with David Miller has always been, if he has enough balls, he can be devastating. He came in at a time when South Africa were 150 for 2, or was 3 then at the time, or 4, and in about the 35th over. He had 15 overs
Yes.
with Calveren on the other end. You don't need aggressor, whatever it is. You're chasing a target. You needed 120 of 90 balls. That's where he should be thriving. And
So
for
that's what
me,
irritates me, Impo, because my thing is that the staff and the selector should come in and say, this is your role, David. We're going to trust you with number 4, for example. And we want you to be that guy that's going to have more overs and take us and this smash. And play your natural game. But
in his defense on Tuesday,
don't mess him around like you have
Tuesday,
been.
he was running out of partners. He lost Calverena. Then and that guy's Andile is like a shell of it. Like I love the guy
he's
to
not the
bits. I think
same. He's not the
but
same.
he hasn't played cricket. That's the problem. We're playing the same 11 5 times in a row in the West Indies. The man hasn't played cricket in 2 months. What are you guys expecting?
Wait,
and so
on David Miller, sorry for interrupting, Mpo, but if we're looking at his innings, he scored 24 of 27 balls with 1 boundary. It was a 4. That doesn't even look like David Miller. He wasn't even accelerating
I was
anything.
fine with
the
thing was the plan at that point in time was take it as deep as possible with Calverena. And then finish. So Ireland scored 80 runs for the last 6 overs. You kind of needed to match that because you kept on losing wickets. And so the problem was he was batting with guys who couldn't. If, let's say, it was Dwayne Pretorius instead of Andile, I would have expected to see Miller time. I'd have been like, dude, he's capable enough as a batsman for you to keep on going. But Aditya mentioned that we had like 149 dot balls in that game.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with what happened with David Miller in that game is that he was rotating striker was great. The batsman on the other end was not.
Wasn't. That makes sense.
And Dila couldn't get off the square. And then so David's finding himself in a bit of a hole, and you guys are like asking him to do what he does in T20, what he no longer does in T20, to do it again. And it wasn't going to work. And so I kind of feel sorry for the guy, but I also kind of feel as though let's give him a rest, try somebody else, maybe even rest him for the first T20, but I don't think they can because they see him as their finisher. And let's let him regroup, maybe go play the IPL. Hopefully he'll find some form there, and then he should be ready for the World Cup.
You know who would have been it would have been fantastic, by the way, for this series.
Don't even try and say it.
If you're going to say Chris Morris, bro. Please,
No.
Please don't do
It's his
this.
favorite.
I was about to.
Don't even start that.
Let's say
John. What's his last name? John Smuts.
Aaron, where did the Euro go this Sunday? Where did the Euro trophy go to?
Went to Italy, and they
it
deserved
went
it.
to Rome.
Where did the 2019 ICC Cricket World Cup go? And still is as of 2021.
I asked about the Euro. I didn't ask about the trophy you guys stole from
Cricket Fanatics magazine, not Euro or Football Fanatics magazine. We can touch upon that in another show. But with regards to
we are Euro Football Fanatics.
how do we get from John Smuts to the Euros? How do we get from John Smuts,
honestly,
to the Euros?
Rent-free.
Someone explain to me.
But with regards to our conversation beforehand, I mean, I just wanted to bring it back to South Africa's middle order. We'd mentioned about George Linder, for example. What about Miguel Pretorius? Do you see him as someone, and potentially in the future, I'm not saying that he can be a finisher, but in terms of you'd have to mould him into more of a middle order finisher, would be David Benningham. He's been absolutely sensational for Durham so far, leading run scorer in the county championship, been absolutely brilliant as well in the T20. He's taken teams apart all day long this season. Could you see someone like that, for example, coming in and revolutionising the landscape of this middle order, or do you think there's someone else in South African cricket who can fulfill that role?
He could be the guy.
He could be the guy, but you see, once again, David is a type of guy as well who's I don't know, I haven't watched him play in England now recently, but I'm saying he's also the type of guy that likes to take a couple of balls. We have too many guys that need to settle in and take a couple of balls, get their eye in, rotate the side quickly to get themselves in, and then they can hit in the last 10 or last 15 if they built some momentum. There's nobody that I can think of that comes in other than that I've seen do this in South African cricket. Because a lot of the times your top order batsmen, your threes and your fours are scoring your runs and winning your games. Other than someone like Tristan Stubbs who came in, but he's very young as well. So he's also it's very premature. And Ayak Rahman is another option, but we've never seen him. We've never seen him in an international setup yet. And to do it now, leading to the World Cup, like if they're going to, that's why I said their mentality needs to be different for 2023 World Cup than it is for the T20 World Cup. You need to pick your best players on form leading up to the T20 World Cup and build for the 2023 World Cup. They should have done that already. After the last World Cup decided, look here, we're going to build to the next one. And now we're going to trust some certain guys. If Boucher decided, look here, we want to play with this type of structure, we want to have an attacking brand of cricket, we want an opening pair that can rotate the batting, have a left-right combination, a guy, one striker, one anchor, maybe have a three that can stop from, with regards to put the stopgap in the innings if we get an early wicket. Then we can have a 4 that's more attacking, a 5 that's also that can be a stopgap, and then a 6 that can maybe push the runs no matter what happens, smack the ball out of the park. If they had that mentality already and then picked players and then gave them a run, we wouldn't be sitting here getting irritated. But we've seen chopping and changing consistently since he stepped in.
So,
can I ask a question to all of you guys? Right? This World Cup that's coming up, what are our chances of being the 2 semi-final teams in our group?
Anything
right now.
Do we even know the groups?
We've got Afghanistan. Well, I say we, as in England now. So we've got South Africa.
Yes, it's we now.
So we're in the same group, yeah.
South Africa, Afghanistan, India, and Sri Lanka. No, not Sri Lanka. Who's the other? The qualifier. Afghanistan and the qualifier.
Qualifier, yeah.
Yes. So the question to all of you is, I say the chances of South Africa making it out of that semi being the top 2 in that group are 0 because you've got England and India. Yes, anything can happen in a T20. But are you willing to go? Yes, that too. Are you willing to go to the World Cup with anything can happen, even though my squad is limited? Or maybe could we just say, okay, fine, guys, let's actually try something and go to the World Cup and say, okay, fine, we know we're on a hiding to nothing, but let's try and this type of a brand of cricket.
I'm
just putting it out there because I wouldn't mind giving a guy like Ayat Rahmani these last 3 T20s against Sri Lanka to be like, hey, dude, you're the guy I'm looking for, or Tristan Stubbs, or whoever it is, but like, you're the guy I need to head out, or Miguel Puto, whoever it is. Just give them these 3 and be like, okay, this is what we want to do, because we know that chances are we're not going to make it in. But next year's World Cup in Australia, you'll be more experienced and we'll break you.
And Pope, can I just say that would be fantastic? It would be fantastic. There is absolutely no way that South Africans would accept that anyway.
Never will.
It's not going to. It can't work. How does Mark Boucher know that he's going to be in the? He's going to be coached long enough for his. What happened to the trust the process guy? What's his name from the 76ers? Did he see his whole trust the process go through? No, he didn't.
The process is still continuing.
No, but Hickey's not there to see it. Hickey isn't there to see it, and that's the point. Why would Mark Boucher be like, oh, the next guy in charge is going to take this one home? No, bruh, he's not thinking that way, bruh. It's not going to happen.
No, but he's going to coach.
He's going to pick the players he trusts, eh?
Mark Boucher's got 4 years, guys. 2023.
Mark Boucher's going to pick the players he trusts. The guys that he can, that he trusts, that come through for him. And he's looking for any way to bring Heinrich Klaassen into this team. I'm telling you that's someone that he trusts.
Check out David Miller.
He trusts.
There's another question.
He trusts Heinrich Klaassen with his heart, like with his life. So
there's another question there with Klaassen because we were talking about this, and there were obviously these question marks about how Klaassen used Andile Peklukwayo in the Pakistan series, and then what Temba said about Andile right before the Ireland series, and it appeared as if there is there is some sort of a gulf in understanding
It's contradiction.
how to use that
Everything
name.
that's been said.
Yeah.
Everything that comes out of their mouths is contradiction.
So the question is, like, if Mark
What is
see
that?
and
Yeah.
Bo obviously pointed out that there was a difference in the language used by Dean Elgar and Mark Barcher with respect to boring versus aggressive cricket. And so my question is, even if Mark Barcher has faith in a certain set of players, is he, and by extension the captain, going to utilize these players correctly?
Guys,
And
I mean, Aditya, we're sitting here now. I'm unsure about so many things. I'm unsure about Chris Morris.
Yeah.
I'm unsure about Imran Tahir. I'm unsure about Faf. I'm still unsure about AB.
Where's Faf?
Because Boucher still speaks
No.
about AB like he's coming back. Then I'm unsure about the style of cricket that we're playing. I'm unsure if we're playing boring. What type of cricket? What's smart and what is aggressive? Like, there's too many uncertainties in this particular team. Guys, let's wrap up this video. I'm going to go Mpo, then I want to go to Tsepo, then I want to go Aditya, and then I want Aaron to end off. Just give me your thoughts about tomorrow, your final thoughts about this particular.
It's going to be sunny tomorrow. So I want an extra spinner, and I also want to see energy. I want to see focus, energy, and effort. And then, most importantly, give me a plan as to how you're going to score the runs. This is the one time, everyone hates anchors in T20. This is the one time you can pick one guy in the batting lineup and say, dude, you've got 150 balls, have at it. Please. That's all I want from Mark Barcher. That's all I want from the guys tomorrow. Somebody to bat for over 100 balls and get us some runs and everyone coming around them, and none of this aggressive and doing whatever it is. Let's put runs on the board, put Ireland under pressure, and let's have a great game of cricket with 60 overs of spin, because I know Ireland's going to come to the party. SA come to the party too. 3 spinners tomorrow. Come on, let's go.
Simple.
Shout out. I don't know why that took me by surprise. I was still thinking of what I wanted to say. But I guess tomorrow, first thing I want to see is Quinton de Kock's name on that sheet. Don't play games with me tomorrow. Also, low-key, I want to see David Miller benched. Just take some time, brother. Just take some time. Heinrich Klaassen can come in there. Just take some time, bro. Heinrich Klaassen can come in there, redeem himself, because he has the quality. I just checked his stats, the fantastic. And also, I would also personally like to see Rabada also getting a rest. And someone like Lazard Williams, just something to bring some energy. Lazard Williams brought energy. I remember him in the field, so electric. So I need that vibe. Yeah.
I almost want David Miller only to focus on the T20 World Cup, that he can
No,
come
bro,
in
he
that
must
World Cup and
focus on the bench.
score like every game he must score 50. Like that's all I want him to do.
Hey.
Aditya.
Oh, right. So I'm just going to assume that South Africa is going to bat first tomorrow, and I hope that is the case. And if that happens, I really want to see South Africa score 350, because I think the bar is set too low at wanting South Africa to score 300. I think they've got to go try 350. And I would like to see Themba and Aiden make the bulk of those runs and have David Miller finish off with like 60 of 30. That, to me, is the ideal game for South Africa. But it is incredibly important. Tomorrow's game is particularly important for Themba Bavuma, the captain. And Themba Bavuma, the batsman, needs to fire.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
100%. Aaron, I wanted to say something before you start. Like it's difficult, because I would love South Africa if they won the toss, like to pick to bat first, so we can see what our batting is capable of. And because I want to see how we defend the total as well with the bowlers, because that will test them to the max. But I know that if the situation happens, they're going to take whatever is the right decision to win the game, whether that be that we pick to bat second or into field first or not. And they're going to obviously pick. South Africa a team will never put themselves in a position that's going to test them out of choice. Do you understand what I mean? So I kind of low-key want Ireland to win the toss, so that South Africa can be put under pressure. So hopefully they put them into bat first, and I want to see if we can reach a total, because we're still unsure whether we can. We do it now and again. We did it now and again where we scored a massive score, and we think, oh, this is going to be the turn around the corner, and then boom, back to the U-turn. So, yeah, your final thoughts, Aaron?
I think you summed that quite nicely there, Khalid. In terms of Aditya, yeah, 350, I think that is a very, very ambitious total. Actually, given that Malahide, it's usually around 280 to 290. That's the average score. I think if South Africa got that, it would be 1-1. I'm going to be honest. In terms of tomorrow, what I'm looking for from both sides, and it's something that we spoke upon in the first review show, is strike rotation. So between both sides, they had 50 overs of dot balls, 151 for Ireland, 149 for South Africa. I want to see gaps being picked. I want to see rotation of strike. I want to see some application of batting instead of just digging in there and then trying to get the odd four here and there. In terms of an Irish perspective, Curtis Campher 100. That's all I want, okay, to be honest, for Curtis Campher. Maybe a fifer for Mark Adair. I'm just going to put that out there. The ex-Warwickshire man, he's an absolute gem of a bloke as well. But in terms of the game itself, I want to see a much, much better performance from South Africa. A lot more energy, a lot more optimism, a lot more enthusiasm, and in particular the fielding. That's something that I'll be looking out for as the first barometer for the Proteas. Cutting down those angles, preventing quick ones and twos, saving boundaries, flinging themselves in the field. So tomorrow, with a sunny Malahide, as Empo said, spin to win as well. Can't wait to see that as a spinner myself. I think it's going to be a very, very intriguing end to the series. How it will play out, who knows? It's the beauty of the game, the beauty of live cricket. We'll have to wait and see, but should be an absolutely brilliant end to what's been a very, very interesting series. It has to be said, especially if you're an Irish fan.
Awesome. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I want to see about 40 likes on this video. Please, so smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel, of course. Do all of those things as well, please. Share it on WhatsApp. Share it into your WhatsApp stories, guys. Go ahead. You guys all have WhatsApp and social medias and stuff like that, so share it onto your WhatsApp stories. That will be excellent from that perspective. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow, hopefully with a review show of the game, if it ends in a time that is applicable for everybody, because I want to be able to get everybody on the stream, of course, and talk to all of you. So good luck to all of us. Hopefully we do come, and good luck to the Proteas. Hopefully we come up on top, and we show people what we are made of this time around. But thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your evening.